Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to a Beantown Friday edition of the Ice Guys, presented by Boston Hemp Inc. Friday, May 17th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith. We survived what was a thrill ride, a true thrill ride of a Thursday night in the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, and an amazingly fun betcast for Patreon members last night. It was just a phenomenal Thursday night in all aspects. The hockey on the ice was scintillating, the conversation, the laughs, the fun, the hilarity during the Patreon exclusive live betcast last night was awesome. There's just everything. That was just a hell of a fun night all the way around last night. We'll start by talking about the betcast because it was tons of fun. It was a great turnout. We had, we almost had full capacity at one point later in the night. The two games were epic, and we will get to those in just a few moments. But the time spent on the betcast with all of our great Patreon members and viewers and listeners of the show, and I see Subhuman Gaucho, Rich H in the chat, two of them that were, of course, part of the betcast last night. Just awesome times, just great camaraderie. And like I said, we were all spending it together watching what ended up being two tremendous hockey games last night in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So shout out to all the Patreon members. Your support goes a long way for us here at the Ice Guys, and that's why we're happy to put those betcasts on. But Alex, the betcast, just in terms of just the camaraderie and the company we kept part of it last night, tons of fun. I mean, I'm just thinking back to some of the stuff we were talking about, and you start laughing all over again. It was just lots of fun last night, and we have a great group that we hang with here and we roll with here on the Ice Guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just an absolute blast, like it always is. Like I said, it's just a great group of people, and just talking, having drinks, making bets, and just really enjoying the moment. So it was a whole lot of fun, and it's a really good time overall for sure.
The only thing that would have made it better is if we could ever create a scenario where we could have a universal feed of the game for everybody, so they see everything at the exact same time. That would have made it even better, because I'm doing my best to not spoil anything, because for the vast majority of the people on the betcast, my feed was ahead of theirs, and I'm trying to hold it in and not say anything, not say shit, so that people can see it unfold for themselves. I did a good job of that when we'll get to this with the Edmonton-Vancouver game, when that JT Miller goal went in to win the game for the Canucks. I did an excellent job not giving it away. And you know why that was important? Because we got ourselves a natural, authentic, Rich H goal reaction to that JT Miller game winner in the final minute that you will stand the test of time. That will go down as one of the great reaction moments, I think, during one of our betcasts last night, was when Rich H saw that JT Miller goal go in for the Vancouver Canucks. He let it rip. He let loose. Let's just put it that way. Let's talk about in Raleigh, North Carolina, and the Carolina Hurricanes with a first period where, look, the Rangers did have a pretty good start to the game. They carried the play. They were in the offensive zone. We talked about that during the betcast, but they couldn't put the puck in the net. And Carolina ends up getting the first goal late in the period. It's a beautiful passing play, setting up Marty Necas from behind the net. And it ends up being 1-0 Carolina, and a bit of a, that's unfortunate for the Rangers that they were trailing 1-0 after that first period, because territorially, I thought they did all right. Now, Carolina did have the edge in shots, but at the same point in time, the shot attempts were in the Rangers' favor heavily after the first period. But 1-0 Carolina, a great pass, too, by Martinook out to Necas there. They get the power play goal from Seth Jarvis to make it 2-0 early in the second. Rangers respond right away, though. Vinny Trocheck gets them on the board, makes it 2-1. It was one of those shots where, look, Freddie Anderson, and we'll get to Freddie Anderson in a minute. He was just out of position because he was stopping the previous shot. It bounces back to the point, and great job by Trocheck. Just fire it on goal. You've got Freddie Anderson scrambling, totally off angle, out of position, and Trocheck ends up getting the puck in past him from the blue line. So 2-1, but then the Hurricanes respond. bad pinch by the Rangers, odd man rush set up for the Hurricanes, and Sebastian Aho finishes it off and makes it 3-1. And I'll tell you what, at the end of the second, Carolina was buzzing to make it 4-1. They never did. Shesterkin made a couple of big saves, and it ends up being those were some big saves to keep it at 3-1 for Carolina after the first two periods. It still looked like it was going to be a tough mountain to climb for the Rangers, given that it's Carolina. It's a team that's at home facing elimination. Going to be tough still to come back against them. But the goal that gave the New York Rangers life, and the goal that was the start of just one of the epic third periods in an elimination game you'll see, certainly in Rangers history, and certainly in recent Stanley Cup playoff memory from Chris Kreider. And it was his 3-2 goal that got it going 6 minutes and 43 seconds into the third period to cut the lead down to 1-3-2. And it was one of those goals where Freddie Andersen's not hugging the post. And then to make matters worse, it's a bleeder of a shot that Chris Kreider just ends up poking and pushing through the pads of Freddie Andersen to beat him. It's just a horrific goal. Simple as that. It can't go in. It's a goal that gives total life and a swing of momentum to the New York Rangers that you just can't afford. And sure enough, 3-2, and it's Freddie's got to have that. Frederik Andersen has to have that one. He can't let that puck go in, but he does. Kreider gives the Rangers life, and from that moment on, the New York Rangers just were swarming Carolina. They got they said, we're one shot away from tying it, boys, and a chance to still end this series tonight and avoid that Game 7 back home. And then, of course, the Rangers got a power play, and to make matters worse, it was the captain, Jordan Staal, for the Carolina Hurricanes that took the penalty. Not only that it was the captain, but he's one of their best penalty killers. So it's like a double whammy. You're giving this Rangers team a power play and a chance to tie the game, and it's your captain, one of the best penalty killers on the team that's serving the penalty, and you're without him trying to kill that penalty. And then, wouldn't you know it, the Rangers do cash in on it. A Panarin shot redirected, deflected in front of the net by Chris Kreider for his second straight goal, ties the game 3-3. And then the momentum was even more so on the Rangers after that. They kept swarming. The panic was starting to show a little bit for Carolina. And by the way, Andersen, no chance on the Kreider goal, obviously. The third goal, the second of the period for Kreider, deflection, no chance. But then the fourth goal, you see it unfold. Carolina can't clear the puck. They're remember, they play man-to-man defense. They're one of the few teams in the NHL that plays man-to-man defense. And when you're scrambling and the Rangers have the puck cycling like crazy like they did leading up to the go-ahead and eventual game-winning goal to make it 4-3, that's when you can screw up the man-to-man defense. And the Rangers were able to do that. And Chris Kreider ends up getting a natural hat trick, his third consecutive goal in the third period, to give the New York Rangers a 4-3 lead. It was a combination of errors. It was soft defending in front, losing Chris Kreider at the side of the net. And again, Freddie Andersen slow to get to his near post there. You know, he was slow to get there, slow reaction time, if you will. And that allowed Kreider the space he needed, the time he needed to just slip that puck in past Andersen and a defense that did not tie him up well enough. And the Rangers end up getting a 4-3 lead. And look, the funny thing is the Rangers, 4-3 with 4:19 left when they scored. Rod Brindamore pulls Freddie Andersen with just under 3 minutes left. There was a chance that I believe Svechnikov had off a face-off win, a clean face-off win for Carolina with about 2.5 minutes left with the extra attacker. And Shesterkin had to make an incredible point-blank save on Svechnikov when the Rangers were ahead 4-3. A huge stop. That was about as close as Carolina got. Barclay Goodrow ends up putting it away into the empty net with 49 seconds left. And the New York Rangers, an incredible, epic comeback in the third period. 3-1 down, 4 unanswered goals. Natural Hattie for Chris Kreider, and a 5-3 win to extinguish the Carolina Hurricanes, end the series, win it in 6, and they are off to the Eastern Conference Final. I know I didn't mention this in the recap of the game, but unfortunately, it was a play that we're going to forget about it because it was a loss for the Carolina Hurricanes. But Jordan Martinook saving a goal in the second period was just an incredible effort. That's just not quitting on the play. He was the best forward for the Hurricanes last night, Jordan Martinook. He obviously has the great assist He saved a goal there. I think Aho had a very good game as well. Jarvis was better. But at the end of the day, just not enough. And the Rangers just make them pay. And it was Chris Kreider putting the team on his back in the third period. Igor Shesterkin, sign of a great goalie, right? Give up 3 goals. You're down 3-1, and you don't give up 1 goal in the third. You shut the door. You don't let Carolina get to 4, and you give your team the chance to make that comeback and win that game. So credit to the New York Rangers. They're off to the Eastern Conference Final. There's some big decisions that have to be made for Carolina. This is another, falling short of your ultimate goal year after year. This has been a really good hockey team, playoff team, getting to the conference finals, getting to the second round. But year after year, they're not able to get to that Stanley Cup final, that final hurdle, if you will. And that's, again, Carolina falls short, even though they had a team good enough probably to get there, especially when you bring in a Jake Gensel at the trade deadline. But now there's decisions. What's the front office going to do? Rod Brind'Amour does not have a contract right now. Is he going to be back next season? Does he want to be back badly enough in Carolina? Because Ron Francis in Seattle is a guy that has played with Brind'Amour, and they're very good friends. Seattle might be interested. The Toronto Maple Leafs suddenly, and that might be why they're holding off on making a final decision on Berube or anyone they're interested in as a head coach, because they want to see how the chips fall with Rod Brind'Amour right now. So there's all kinds of decisions there as to what they do as far as the head coach is concerned. And then you've got the situation too with the goaltending. And Alex and I have been just railing on this fucking all season long with the Carolina Hurricanes. The time is now, okay? The time is now. Frederik Andersen is a good NHL goalie, but he is not elite. He is not clutch. He's aging. He's injury prone. He cannot have a season 82 games healthy at this stage of his career. It's just impossible at this point for Frederik Andersen. We've seen enough of the guy to know that. Frederik Andersen, he's a good goalie. He's not elite. He's not clutch. And now, again, last night, in a playoff elimination game for his team, and this goes back to when he was with the Toronto Maple Leafs, he gives up that one soft backbreaker goal that you cannot allow. And he did it again last night. That second goal for the first Kreider, third period, cannot go in. And it's a goal that gave the Rangers life. And it's a goal that put his team on their heels. You can't go in. It's all about the timely save, not giving up the softy at the worst time. And Freddie Andersen gave up the softy at the worst time. Here's what you do if you're Carolina. If you're talking to your season ticket holders in your State of the Union after the season, you cannot say to them and be serious about winning a Stanley Cup that Freddie Andersen's our guy next year as the number 1 goaltender. You just can't. The time is now. It's Pyotr Kochetkov time. It's time to make him the number 1 goalie for this team. I get it that Frederik Andersen still has 1 more year on his contract with Carolina. You know what you say to Freddie? You say, we'll honor it. We want you back here in the organization. But if you want to be back, you're going to have to accept a position as backup or at best, a 1A, 1B platoon situation with Pyotr being the 1A and you the 1B. And if you don't like it, tough shit, ship him out. Out you go. And to be honest with you, if I was the GM, even with the 1 year left for Freddie Andersen, I would say Kochetkov's the number 1 guy. He's our future in net. It's time to be out with the senior citizens home. Goodbye to the Cripple Creeks that are Frederik Andersen and Antti Ranta, and turn the goaltending over to the young kid, who's the guy that I think maybe you could make a case should have been the guy this year in the Stanley Cup playoffs for the Carolina Hurricanes. So tough decisions to be made in Carolina everywhere. It's not actually, the goaltending decision is not tough for me. My concern is it's going to be tough for them. Alex, what a game last night, and what a comeback for the Rangers.
Yeah, I mean, the Rangers, proved, to be a resilient bunch. We talk about that, the resiliency, the ability to fight back in the game, fight back in a series, and with their backs against the wall, all the pressure was on them, right? They had the 3-0 series lead, and now, you're looking at trying to avoid having to play a Game 7. All the pressure and momentum was on them, especially being down in that contest. But Chris Kreider, we always talk about how it's never the pretty goals that count and that really get you far in the postseason. It's the gritty goals, the tip-in goals, cleaning up the garbage in front of the crease, and no one does that better than Chris Kreider. So for him to have that hat trick is just, shows you the stamp of resiliency that this team has. Igor Shesterkin, we kind of talked about it on the Betcast about, well, maybe they should pull him at the end of the second period. Let Jonathan Quick get some time in, especially if this does go to a game 7. Now you're giving Igor some rest. Didn't matter. Igor stayed in. He was sharp. He made some big-time saves when he needed to late in that period. And they get the win. They go in advance. And like I said, Carolina's now got a bunch of questions to ask themselves. Can we keep Rod Brind'Amour? What do we do with the goaltending? Like I said, Kochetkov needs to be the guy. There needs to be no more of this back-and-forth bullshit. He's your future goaltender, and he's the best goaltender you have right now. I'm saying it's not even a matter of just getting rid of Anderson and or Ronta. You got to draft a goaltender. You have nothing in the cupboard right now at all. We saw that be the case in the year at one point when all these guys got hurt and they had they got the kid from Quinnipiac that came in and played a game. And so you got to retool that whole goaltending room for sure. And it starts with giving Kochetkov the starting job and then working everything else down. So there's a lot they got to deal with. And if they don't keep Brind'Amour around, I'd be curious to see who they end up getting as a coach and how their style is going to change based on who ends up coaching with this team next October.
Yep, definitely. Totally with you. And we've been on this theme all year with Kochetkov. We've believed in him from day one. We think he's got it's not just his ability as a goaltender. He's a very good goaltender, and he's got the potential to be excellent. But he's also very competitive. It's a guy that has got a competitive spirit in him that burns, and that's what I want in my goaltender. He really cares about winning. He cares about being in the fight with his teammates. He'd be willing to fight. He's done that. He's got that little ornery element to him, and kind of like Binnington, although I don't think he's quite as much over the edge as Jordan Binnington with it. But that's what you like. Very competitive goalie in addition to the ability that he has. So, like I said, I think that's the decision to make. And for the New York Rangers now, it's a question of John Massey, our Ranger fan. You wouldn't know that they won a series last night if you watched him on the Betcast last night, but that's John Massey for you. But no, I know deep down inside he was happy. He's never going to show you that he's happy, but he was, I'm sure, deep down inside and relieved that he didn't have to go through the torture and the stress of a Game 7 on Saturday. For his team. But now the Rangers get to see if Boston, Florida can beat each other up for, another game or two before that Eastern Conference final begins. And then the second game last night, if you thought that game was wild, what a great game with Vancouver and Edmonton, tense, dramatic. It was a game where, look, Vancouver did not start all that well, considering how Rick Tocchet basically challenged his best players, naming Pettersson and 5 or 6 others, not naming them other than Pettersson, but saying 5 or 6 guys, they got to get going here. Don't even know that's the Stanley Cup playoffs at the moment. So, like I said, it is absolutely a situation for the Vancouver Canucks where I expected a better start than they delivered. Edmonton gets the quick early goal, 1-0, and really they were carrying the play with Vancouver, but Vancouver later in the period started to settle down, stay out of the box, started to play in the offensive zone. And then Carson Soucy, we talked about how big of a deal it was that he was back in the lineup after the 1-game suspension. He ties it 1-1 for the Vancouver first goal prop that I had in that game. And then, of course, I also had Vancouver first period money line, and at least we got that back to tied. I'm thinking, all right, we can get out of this period push, hopefully, worst case scenario. But no, Edmonton ends up scoring, and it's Matthias Janmark on an odd man rush that makes it 2-1 Oilers. And then things really settled down after that. It was a turnover by the Oilers early in the second. Phil, it's not delivery. It's Di Giuseppe ends up tying it 2-2. And then we went through a long period of the game, all the way through the rest of the second, most of the third at 2-2, even though as that game continuously progressed, the Vancouver Canucks were becoming the better team and the stronger team. And that was about as impressive as they have been at 5-on-5 even strength over the Edmonton Oilers in this series. They were all over, Edmonton for much of the third period. The offensive zone, they had great chances. They hit a few posts. Pickard made a few saves. I thought he played a pretty good game, pretty solid game. But finally, the breakthrough happened with less than a minute to go. And this is the stuff of fairy tale. This is the stuff of lore, that the guy that scores the go-ahead goal and the game-winning goal last night to win Game 5 for the Vancouver Canucks is none other than JT Miller. The same JT Miller that cares about the team and cares about his own performance in games of this magnitude so much that he texted Rick Tocchet, his head coach, after Game 4, saying on the Evan Bouchard game-winning goal that the Oilers scored in the final minute, "My bad. I'm sorry. That's on me. I need to be better. I was out of position defensively on the Bouchard goal. I let the team down." And for him to just be so passionate about the team and the success of the team and to accept responsibility and ownership like that, even though he's not the only guy to blame on that Bouchard goal. Anybody that watches it, it's a collective team breakdown that allowed the puck to stay in the zone and allowed Evan Bouchard the time and space to wire it and hammer it from the blue line past Artur Shilovs. But for JT Miller to accept ownership of that moment and that goal, and then to come back and score the game-winning goal in Game 5 last night in the final minute, it's fairy tale stuff. And it's going to be the stuff that gets remembered. If Vancouver wins this series and goes, wins the West or wins the Cup, you're going to be looking at JT Miller saying, "I'm sorry, my bad," owning that Game 4 loss, coming back and scoring the game winner in the final minute of the third period in Game 5. Just like for the Rangers with Chris Kreider's third period. We'll remember that as the Chris Kreider game. If the Rangers win the East, win the Stanley Cup after what happened involving Kreider last night. Same thing. That's your JT Miller moment last night. No question with that game-winning goal. What a response from him. And look, Canucks full marks for the win, too. Anyone that watched that game knew that Vancouver was the better team last night. No question. They heavily had the offensive zone time, high danger chances. Expected goals for were in Vancouver's favor. Shots on goal were in Vancouver's favor. And they get the job done. 3-2 victory last night in Game 5 to take a similar series lead, 3-2, going back to Edmonton with the Oilers now facing a must-win game and their season on the line once again. They've been in this spot many times over the Stanley Cup playoffs in years past. Tremendous hockey game last night, Alex, and it was the JT Miller game. Like I said, fairy tale ending.
Yeah, absolutely. And we didn't get the first goal with him to cash, unfortunately, but I did have an anytime goal with him plus 185, and what a perfect time for him to cash and collect with that. Just a great effort by Vancouver. And now, the doubt has to be swimming through Edmonton in that locker room right now, right? Here we go again. We're down in a series. Now you got questions with your goaltending. Pickard was solid. It wasn't his fault that he didn't lose them the game. But do you go to stick with him or do you go to Skinner? Now they all these questions are creeping in, and I think that's a bad place for them. And like I said, I think the fact they're going home almost makes it even worse. They get out to Vancouver gets out to a 1-0, 2-0 lead early. This crowd's going to start booing. They're going to turn on them. The fans are going to have all the doubt in the world as well. And now that's where they're going to start saying, here we go again with this team, finding a way to lose and get themselves out of the playoffs again. So it'll be really interesting to see how Game 6 starts, because this thing could go off the rails completely if Edmonton's not ready in the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes of that contest.
There's absolutely true. And now you've got actually goaltending decisions on both sides, because don't look now. We'll start with Vancouver. Thatcher Demko's close to returning to the point where he might even be ready to start in Game 6 tomorrow night in Edmonton. And you would think that they got to go back to him, but at the same time, there's a nice little wave and run going with Artur Shilovs, the young kid, that I think that's one of those deals where if I'm in the shoes of Rick Tocchet right now, I ain't going to Thatcher Demko until I see Artur Shilovs lose a game. If Artur's drops one here, then I would go back to Demko if he's ready and he's 100% healthy and able to start. And then it's his net after that, obviously. And Thatcher is still the number one guy here. But like I said, I'd be reluctant to disrupt the rhythm we've got going with Shilovs, especially as he keeps racking up the W's for the most part. So that's the way I would approach it, honestly. That, Game 6, if you lose with Shilovs, and if Demko's healthy and ready to start Game 7 back in Vancouver, then that's the time you go back to Demko. in my opinion. And Demko's one of those guys. And then you start thinking to yourself, well, hold on now. He hasn't played in a long time. You're worried about throwing him in there in a game 7, a must-win season on the line, hasn't played in a while. Demko is one of those goalies, and Rich H knows this. He's been very good off long layoffs. There's no rust. There's really no, whoa, he needs time to get his game back. No, he's had many examples in his career where Thatcher Demko plays great in the first game after an absence. He's already dialed in. He's ready. He's going to make the right, read as far as the shot coming in. So that's why if I think Shelov's in game 6, because you don't want to disrupt this little vibe and karma you've got going. But if they lose game 6, then you move to Demko in game 7, if he's good to go. If he's 100% healthy, he's been cleared, he's fine, he's ready to rock in game 7, then you go to him. I think that's definitely the way you approach it here if you're Vancouver. For Edmonton, their goaltending decision is a completely different kettle of fish and much harder for Chris Knobloch, because he's got to either go back to Pickard, who has done nothing wrong. He played well in game 4. He's really the main reason he had a chance still in game 5. He played very well last night. But at the same time, I keep coming back to this, Alex. You've invested so much of your team goaltending-wise this year and last year in Stu Skinner. You know this guy is chomping at the bit to get one more chance. Biggie, give me one more chance. Yeah, exactly. He is looking for one more chance. He's had a few days to stew over this and work on his game. And, this is a guy that played lights out for extended stretches of the season this year for Edmonton. Let's not forget, remember that crazy win streak or point streak? What was it, 16, 17 games? How amazing Skinner was for much of that. He was barely giving up more than 2 goals in any game. There's a good goaltender in there still. He just didn't have a good series at all prior to, getting pulled after the first 3 games. I think you can definitely make a case too. You can make a case for Pickard staying in the net. You can make an equally strong case to give it back to Skinner because you have trusted in him. You've invested in him the last 2 years. And not only that, Alex, but because you're off a loss, you put Skinner back in. I could see Edmonton doing what they did when they got Pickard in game 4, that they rally around it. It's a spark for the team. Like, we can't let this guy down again, and we got to do everything we can to help him out if Chris Knobloch turns back to Stuart Skinner tomorrow night in game 6. I think that's a good thing for the team because they're going to want to protect the house just like they did for Cal Pickard in game 4 when he first got that start. So this is something, and this to me is sometimes the goaltending decision I couldn't care less as far as making betting decisions for a game. This one matters because how I bet game 6, and we will get into this more tomorrow on Saturday, this decision, Skinner or Pickard, is going to go a long way, in my opinion, toward how I approach this game. But as far as I'm concerned, Alex, it's a decision where you can't rip Knobloch for sticking with Pickard, and I don't think you can rip Knobloch for going back to Skinner if he goes that route either.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's a tough decision, but yeah, either way, you can't knock him for it. Like I said, this is the position that the team is in now, where maybe with Tocchet, you could kind of be a bit critical if he decides to just throw Demko in right now in game 6. At least maybe wait until I'd say wait until game 1 of the conference finals. And solidify that. Like I said, Shelovs has been solid. He hasn't made any real critical errors so far. Take care of things in 6, even if it goes 7, and then have Demko ready for the next series coming up, and then it's his net moving forward.
It's going to be fascinating here these next 24 hours, how they approach it, especially on the Edmonton side with the goaltending. It's not going to matter, though, if Connor McDavid doesn't get going. Did we see a lot of him last night? I mean, this is now a couple games in this series where it's like, is number 97 out there? Is he hurt? Is he injured? Like, what's going on here? Like, this is supposed to be a dominant player in the league, in the sport. And last night, what's that score? What's that box score for him? It's not just no points. It's only 2 shots on goal, and it's -2 with his plus-minus rating. That's as bad of a game in a big spot like that as number 97 will play. Yep.
It's completely unacceptable. When you're supposed to be the face of the league, the face of your team, your captain, you can't just be that invisible in a big-time game like that. So, It's the same old shit with the Oilers, right? Like we always talk about the same old shit with the Leafs. It's the same old shit with the Oilers, and it's a team that for years we've not been able to trust in clutch moments.
He's had one great game in this series, Connor McDavid. Game 2. Game 2, he was great. He scores the goal to tie the game. He had 3 assists. He had 4 points. And other than that, he got an assist in game 1 and an assist in game 4. But it's not been consistent enough from him, quite honestly. It just hasn't been for someone that's counted on so much. I can't rip on Leon. I think Leon's been pretty good for the most part. But Connor McDavid, there's another gear for him, and there better be one coming up in Game 6. Just 1 goal in this series, by the way, for Connor McDavid. And actually, if you go back to the LA series, he's only got 2 goals, Connor McDavid, in 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 playoff games so far. So, again, and I know he's one of those guys that doesn't care about scoring goals. He cares about facilitating, too, and making the plays and passing and finding his teammates and setting them up. But at the end of the day, like I said, number 97's got to be a whole hell of a lot better tomorrow in Game 6 than he was in Game 5 last night. All right, let's turn our attention. It was a great betting night, actually, overall. We had Vancouver full game. It was a smaller bet. I had more on the first period, but that did cash, and pretty much everything went well in the Rangers game. We hit both teams to score in the second period as well of that Rangers and Hurricanes game. New York Rangers team total over 2.5, which was the best bet for both me and Alex B. Smith, also came through. So it was a solid, profitable night. We'll see if we can duplicate that here on this Friday. And 2 more games, 2 more elimination games, and we will begin with Game 6 in Beantown, fitting on a Beantown Friday. We've got a game in Boston, Florida Panthers, Boston Bruins, Florida leading 3-2 in the series, trying to close it out. Another shot to close it out. They're minus 145 road favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. So we saw the Rangers, the Panthers, and the Stars up 3-1, playing at home in Game 5. They all failed to close. First team with the chance to make amends for that in Game 6 on the road, the New York Rangers last night, and they ended the series against Carolina. And now we've got the other 2 teams, Florida here and then Dallas later, looking to do the same, follow the suit of the New York Rangers and end the series on the road in Game 6. I'm going to stick to what I've said. I respect what Jimmy Murphy said yesterday, and that he does think with the Bruins at home can have another good performance, can win this game, could be bolstered by the return of Brad Marchand, their captain, who was practicing yesterday. Jim Montgomery labeled him as a game-time decision. But if you listen to Mama Marchand, there's rumblings that Mrs. Marchand, Brad's mom, says, don't worry about it. He's playing tonight. So if you believe in Mama Marchand, then he's definitely going to be in tonight. And look, that's going to be an emotional lift on the bench. It is your captain. It's a guy that got punched in the face there by Sam Bennett that led to his absence. So there's definitely going to be, a little bit of a rallying point for Boston getting Marchand back if he does play. I feel like this is, more of the same repetitive cycle that I'm falling into in this series, but I think it makes sense here. I think Boston early, and I think Florida gets better, stronger later in the game and has a chance to close this out. It's probably going to be a game that's potentially hanging in the balance here in the third period. I do think Boston gets a good start, they've done that now 2 games in a row. Boston had a great start in Game 4 at home, up 2-0. Boston had a great start in Game 5, got the first goal in Florida the other night. So the first period, I like Boston to score, minus 125 at BetMGM. It's a very cheap price for that type of bet. Only asking the Bruins to score 1 goal in the first period, something they have done now in back-to-back games here in this series, bolstered by the fans at TD Garden and the likely return of their captain, Brad Marchand, to the lineup. I think they can get on the board early. Still, their backs are against the wall. I like Boston to score in the first period, but I like Florida as far as the team total is concerned for the game, and I'm on that as well. Florida over 3, minus 105 is what I have decided to go with, and again, that is at BetMGM. There is over 2.5, minus 160. It's a little too pricey for me, though, and over 3.5 is a great plus price on Florida's team total, but I want the security of the 3. at minus 105. I thought that was the best way to go. So it's a different way to approach it, but it's kind of similar as to the way I've been betting this series the last few games. Boston early, Florida later in the game. And what I might do as well, in addition to that Florida team total, and this paid off tremendously for me in game 4 in Boston when the Bruins had that 2-0 lead after the first period. What did I do in the first intermission? After cashing those bets, Bruins money line first period and Bruins to score in the first period, I bet Florida plus 290 live after the first period to come back and win that game. I might look at something similar here tonight if indeed once again Boston gets the jump on Florida in the opening 20 minutes of this game. So again, that's my approach. Boston early, Florida as the game goes. Alex, game 6, how are you approaching it here, Panthers, Bruins?
A little bit differently, and I think it relies on Florida having to come out early, take the air out of that crowd, take the air out of that team. Like I said, Marchand being back, even if his minutes are restricted, but just him on the bench, him in the building is going to give that everybody a lift. Florida has to knock that down right away. So I actually took a shot. I laid the half a goal in the first period plus 175. I think Florida can do that. They can win the first period. They can win this game. I think that's going.
So let's hope for 2-1 Florida after the first. Then,
yeah. So that's kind of what I'm. And I can definitely see that. I can definitely see where Boston could get some momentum and find a goal as well. But I think Florida can come out and win that first period. So a 2-1 correct score. I might add that on a little bit as well with that. But I think that's the biggest key. Florida has to come out early, has to dominate and win the first period. If they do that, they should be able to kind of not necessarily coast, but they should be able to have enough momentum under their sails to go on and finally put this series away.
All right, Florida first period puck line. That is a really good price, obviously, on that with the Panthers here to win the opening period. So like I said, and I'm on Boston to score in the first period. So let's hope for 2-1 Panthers after one period. We'll all get our money if that's the case. But yeah, plus 178 at Pinnacle for that Panthers first period puck line. Yeah, as far as lineup changes are concerned, I was just going to get there. And then as far as the props go for this game, looks like for Boston, like I said, there's a chance Marchand's back. DeBrusk, Geekie, and Pasternak were lined up on the top line. Heinen, Zacha, Brazeau, the third line. Van Riemsdyk, Beecher, Maroon, fourth line. No real change on the blue line. For Florida, yes, that's a great point. Looks like Nick Cousins is back in. He's missed here. And the Lamborghini is back too. And Ryan Lomberg's absence has been injury related. So, and that guy is definitely one of those guys that gives them a little, good on the forecheck, hard on the puck, can chip in every now and then a little bit offensively. And we know he gets under people's skin. Both of those guys do. Nick Cousins and the Lamborghini there, Ryan Lomberg. So they're both in. They're on the fourth line with Kevin Stenlund. It's Evan Rodriguez, Anton Lundell, and E2 Kuhlman, Lusterinen on the third line. Matthew Tkachuk, Sam Bennett, Verhaeghe, the second line. Sam Reinhart, Alexander Barkov, Vladimir Tarasenko, the top line. No change on defense for the Florida Panthers tonight. So the changes are on the fourth line. In comes Cousins, in comes Ryan Lomberg as well. So those are the main things. And then as far as props tonight in this one, Boston, Boston and Pasternak has to be one of those guys. I like Geekie. Again, Geekie's been one of those players I've consistently went with. Jake DeBrusk, he's had chances. He's had some opportunities these last few games. He needs to, find a way to put one home. I think he's got that chance to. And the other guy I'd maybe look at for Boston is Heinen, because I think he's been very good, very noticeable since Jim Montgomery put him in the lineup. I think for Florida, don't overthink it in a game like this. Barkov, the captain, goal assist, Reinhart goal. Verhaeghe, I think, is capable. He shows up in these big moments. Bennett and Tkachuk. There's Tkachuk, certainly, because he's done this before in the big game. And Bennett. Don't sleep on Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett, he scored in Boston in game 4. And I think definitely he is alive to maybe find the back of the net here tonight for the Florida Panthers as well. And then on the blue line, maybe a small little sample, just a small little sprinkle, if you will, on Brandon Montour. Why not? This is a guy that's had a great run of offensive success against Boston in the playoffs last year and this year. So why not maybe sprinkle on Brandon Montour maybe to find the back of the net here as well. All right, next up, it's the second game of the doubleheader tonight, another elimination game, West semifinal, Game 6, Dallas Stars, Colorado Avalanche. We've got Colorado minus 120, home favorites, 6 the total. Dallas looking to end the series here. They are 2-0 at Ball Arena in Denver in this series. In fact, all season long, they've played well here. Remember what they did in the final regular season game as well in Colorado? It was that Sunday night game. They scored 7, on this Colorado team. So there is something that Dallas really likes about playing in Colorado. So don't put it past them to end this series tonight. But I think that for me, there's a very dicey call because Colorado, what we were waiting to see in Game 5 from them was, could they park the disappointment and the anger and the hurt and how upset they were about the whole Big Val Nichushkin situation? And could they come back and show that heart of a champion that was a Stanley Cup winner 2 years ago and keep their season alive? And I'll tell you what, specifically Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar did that. They were monsters in Game 5, especially Makar, who called themselves out after a bad Game 4. They responded in Game 5, and they had a great third period, albeit a little help from Jake Ottinger, who had that terrible goal he gave up to Cale Makar, that fourth Colorado goal. Right away, knowing that, Colorado's been an amazing home team much of the year. It's not easy to win 3 road games in the same playoff series. Dallas had the opportunity to do that in the first round against Vegas, win 3 straight on the road, and even in that series, they couldn't do it. Vegas did get Game 6 at home, did win Game 6 at home to force the Game 7 in Dallas. I think Dallas has the chance to end the series tonight. I also wouldn't be shocked if Colorado does force Game 7 because it is tough to beat any quality home team like this 3 straight times at home. And Colorado's got a little life. What would concern me about Colorado is that Jared Bednar really wore out Makar and MacKinnon in the last game. They both played over 26 minutes. How will they come back now with just the 1 day off between games in the altitude? Because they need those 2 guys. I'm losing faith in Rantanen. He hasn't had a great series. Lekkonen's going to have to be very good as well tonight for the Avs. And they're not getting anything from the third and the fourth line. They got Miles Wood with the overtime winner in Game 1, but they've really not, gotten much other than that from their bottom 6. Meanwhile, you look at Dallas. There's a lot of things to like here in terms of Wyatt Johnston's a monster on the road. He's been that way all playoffs. Tyler Seguin has gotten it going. Rope Hintz, by the way, is not going to play tonight again. That is confirmed he's out. And that does hurt a little bit. But, Dallas has more forward depth than they've had in the past. Like I said, Wyatt Johnston's been great. Logan Stankoven, is just not playing like a playoff rookie. That is for sure. They've gotten Dodonov, Foxa and Steele, some of their depth forwards that have actually chipped in offensively in this series. Which is obviously more than you can say for what we've seen from the depth forwards, I should say, the bottom 6 forwards of Colorado. So, like I said, this is a very tricky game from a side perspective. I bet Dallas to win the series in 7 after Game 5, and I think Alex did as well. I'm going to just sit on that, and I believe it or not, I wouldn't mind a Game 7, quite honestly, because I've got that. Because even though that would put me in a position where here we go again, Game 7, your Dallas futures are on the line here, Ian. Why would you even want a Game 7? Well, it's because I have full faith in Dallas in a Game 7. With Peter DeBoer, 8-0 in Game 7s. We saw this team win a Game 7 at home against Vegas. They played a complete 60-minute game. It was outstanding. And the same thing last year in the second round against Seattle in Game 7 at home. They got the job done. They're excellent in these Game 7s at home. They've got a coach that's unbeaten in Game 7s in his career. That is exactly why, if it gets to Game 7, I'm not too flustered or worried or panicking if I'm a Dallas Stars futures backer like I am and like Alex is as well. So I'm not betting the side here, but you're going to give me a 6 with the total. I'm inclined to look over. And here's why. And that's the only pregame side or total I've got on this game is just over 6. Keep in mind, too, it's an elimination game. So you've got the potential for those third period fireworks later in the game, which often you can have happen in these games. But another thing to factor in is you look at this series and the way it's gone. Dallas has been pretty consistently in these playoffs scoring 3 goals, in most of these games. You've been able to get, for the most part, 3 goals out of the Dallas Stars. I think the only exception in this series was actually, I look back on it. No, they've scored 3 in every game in this series. I'm thinking of the Vegas series when they only scored 2, and that was in Game 7. In this series, Dallas has scored 3, 5, 4, 5, 3. So what does that mean? It means I think I can count on them to score 3 goals tonight, because they've done that in every game in this series. And Georgiev, look, good game in the last game. Can he do it 2 in a row? I've still got my doubts. So I think Dallas can get to 3. I think the key here is, with their backs against the wall, I can't believe for a second Colorado is going to go a third straight home game only scoring 1 goal. Especially when you've got a Nathan MacKinnon and a Cale Makar on that team and playing the way they did in Game 5. Like, we're not going to let our season end. So from that standpoint, I think Colorado's reasonable expectation. They can score 3 as well, which has been the low watermark for them for the most part in the season. This is a team that's averaged over 4 goals per game on home ice this year. So I'm just asking them to get to 3. I'm asking Dallas to get to 3, which they've done in every game in this series. You've got the empty net potential in an elimination game. And again, you've got this total down to 6 instead of 6.5. So even if it does land on 6, you push. So I have to be on over 6 here tonight, minus 115 with the Stars and the Avs. Alex, what do you think here? Game 6, Dallas, Colorado.
Yeah, I've got nothing pregame on this. Like I said, I maybe make the play with Dallas and 7 plus 220. Yesterday, I've seen that number now move. It's like plus 190, 195. So if this goes 7, then we've got Dallas with a really good number in pocket for them to win that 1 game. But this is a spot where Dallas should be able to take care of business and beat Colorado. If they want to be a team that's going to be able to compete and win a Sports Stanley Cup, put the team away. We talk about the killer instinct theory. You got to have that now. And kind of the same thing like with Florida. The fact you're on the road, all right, you got to score early. Take the crowd out of it. Take everybody's hopes and dreams, crush them early in the first 20 minutes. And then you can, build down that momentum, shut things down late, and win this game. That's got to be Dallas's MO. Colorado, it's same thing. You have to battle the first 20 minutes of these pivotal games are what you have to kind of look for. So if I had anything in game, it would be after the first 20 minutes. I want to see how things come out and how both these teams start off in this game.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Like I said, that want nothing to do with a side in this game. Nothing. No Dallas, no Colorado for me. I'm just, like I said, I've got Dallas futures, Dallas and 7 for the series at a plus price. I'd be happy if either one of those cashes at this point. That's what I'm looking for tonight. Just the over for me, but the over does make sense to me. I understand the thought process. Someone in the chat, Manny, you sure these later series games don't go under the total? Some of them do. But this is about, like, if this is 6.5, I may not bet it. But at 6, I got it. I'm taking it because I think Dallas has scored 3 in every game in this series. Colorado, I'd be stunned for the third straight game at home in this series they only score 1 goal. I would be stunned by that, especially with them facing elimination tonight. Unless they're going to have the woe is me, the little effort, little energy type of performance they had in Game 4. But I think they showed in Game 5 they've gotten past that. They've shaken that off. Now it's about trying to prolong your season, force a Game 7. So I think they'll be geared in tonight. So I think they get more than 1 goal. I'm hoping they get 3. Dallas gets their usual 3, and there's your over. That's my thought process here with Game 6 tonight with Dallas and Colorado. Not to mention the Colorado power play heating up again. It struck twice for them in Game 5. So that's definitely concerned. Yeah, MacKinnon does look tired. And that's, Dave, it goes back to what I said a moment ago. It'd be concerning if I'm on Colorado tonight is that MacKinnon and Makar played 26 minutes in Game 5, I should say. That's a lot of ice time. And they've gotten a lot of ice time in this whole series. So, like I said, do they hit the wall at some point? That would be a concern. So we'll see how it goes. Gary in the chat likes Dallas. Hey, I'd be more than happy to maybe lose my little Dallas and 7 for it to end tonight. Quite honestly, I'd be more than happy because these futures positions, this is my number 1 futures team in my portfolio. There is no more investment from a units and a dollar amount standpoint that I have in a team winning the Stanley Cup and the conference this year than the Dallas Stars. None. It's my number one position there as far as futures go. So we're Team Dallas all the way. And like I said, going to be interesting to see if they're able to close this thing out here tonight in Game 6. And again, set up maybe a Dallas-Vancouver West final. And I've got some Vancouver in pocket too. Nothing close to what I have with Dallas as far as the units, but definitely have some Vancouver. And Alex and I are in the same boat. We would just be kicking back on a lounge chair, sipping Mai Tais, and just loving life in the West Final if it's a Dallas-Vancouver conference final, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm more pot committed with Vancouver.
Yep.
But Dallas-Vancouver definitely would be free roll in this essentially in the West.
No doubt. I agree with Russell Deck as far as props go. McKinnon overshots. Cale Makar overshots on goal tonight. I think he realizes this team needs my offense right now. Rantanen, his head's not been right in this series. I don't think he's been great in this series. What are you going to get beyond Lehkonen, Rantanen, McKinnon, and Makar? What are you going to get? You don't know. You really don't know offensively what you're going to get. So I think Makar, the onus is on him. Look for offense, shoot the puck, overshots, goal prop. I'm going to go on the goal prop again for Cale Makar too. That's upwards of like plus 400 again, just like the last game. So that's worth a look as well. Lehkonen's got to be a difference maker. So him overshots, goal prop, assist prop. Wyatt Johnston's a monster on the road, a beast on the road. He's been that way all playoffs. So shots on goal, goal assist prop for him. And I agree with Russell Deck. He's had chances. He's had shot attempts. He's had opportunities. Old man Winter for Dallas has had all kinds of chances. He was snake bit. The puck was not going in for him. He finally got one. The first goal of Game 5 for Dallas. I'm going to Joe Pavelski tonight. Goal prop. Get on the board. Sometimes you know what it's like, right? For a good player and a good goal scorer. You have a snake bit. You have no puck luck. The puck's not going in, and you get that one goal to get the monkey off your back, and all of a sudden the floodgates open. So, like I said, Pavelski's prop is appealing to me here tonight in Game 6 as well. Great stuff. Shout out to everyone. Hit the like button. 300 on the nose. 300 live viewers watching. We appreciate it very much. Hit the like button on the way out for sure. And a reminder, patreon.com/iceguys, $10 per month. I'm telling you what, if you did not sign up prior to last night's betcast, you missed out. It was a shit ton of fun. Thanks to Sammy P as well for rolling through. Always good with him as well. I got a text we got Casey Bailey and Luke Adam for like the shortest cameo ever on a betcast last night. They joined us for 2 minutes during the third period of Edmonton, Vancouver, but their connection was shit. So they couldn't stay on for too long, but they joined us, and we're going to try to get both of them on the show at the same time, on the Daily Show, later on in the playoffs. Casey Bailey's from Alaska, played pro hockey over in Europe the last few years, but he was in the Sens organization, the Leafs organization. I think he did actually play a couple of games with the Toronto Maple Leafs several years ago. So Casey Bailey and, of course, Luke Adam, you've seen him before. He was on our playoff preview show with Danny DeKaiser. So we'll get them on together. They're both in Arizona right now. We'll get them on together for a show before the end of the playoffs. But again, we've got many more betcasts coming, including Patreon exclusive ones. Sign up. You'll get our daily sides, totals, and player props posted on the page each and every day. Bonus content and plenty more. So make sure you sign up. $10 per month, patreon.com/iceguys, and check out the Ice Guys store. Get your gear and your merch there at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Yeah, fortunately, the 15% sale did end, but we always have deals that'll pop up, and we also lowered prices on some of the items as well in the store. So check that out right now, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All
right, great stuff. Yeah, Jimmy Murphy, that's true, Russell. I don't know if was it his best. No, it was Carolina puck line was his best bet, but he did have Vancouver in regulation as one of his other recommendations on the show yesterday, Jimmy Murphy. And wow, JT Miller with 30 seconds to go. What a way to win it. Unbelievable. Way to go, Jimmy Murphy. Cashed that one that he gave out on the show yesterday. All right, we got Bargain Bin Special of the night and Best Bets coming up in just a moment, right after we hear from our great sponsors. All right, Boston Hemp Inc. Make sure you check them out and get 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code ICEGUYS at bostonhempinc.com. And, of course, sponsors of the show every day, including Beantown Friday. All right, bargain bin special of the night for this Friday slate. Florida, Boston, Dallas, Colorado. 2 games to pick from. Alex, where are you going for the bargain bin tonight?
I'm going with that Florida-Boston game, and I'm going with the same thing that I went with to close out the first round with Florida Panthers. Like I said, there's always a guy who steps up and delivers and scores big goals in these moments, and that's Alexander Barkov. I had him to score 2 goals. He did it against Tampa Bay. I'm going right back to the well with that. 2 goals plus 2,100 for Alexander Barkov and get that price available at FanDuel. That there's a reason why he's the captain, why he's one of the longest tenured players with this team. He stands and delivers time and time again. I think he does that here as Florida moves on to the Eastern Conference Finals. So Alexander Barkov plus 2,100 to score twice in this game. It's my bargain bin special for the night.
All right, there you go. Alexander Barkov, bargain bin special. Over 1.5 goals to get 2 goals for Alex with his bargain bin. I'm going to give you 2. Don't like doing that, but I'm doing it because Dallas, Colorado, I'm back and forth on both. Cale Makar plus 320 at FanDuel to score a goal. I think he's going to be actively looking to shoot the puck again, just like he did in Game 5. And he knows he has to because they're not getting that punch from the bottom 6 offensively. Cale Makar, Colorado, plus 320. And then 1 from Dallas as well. We're going to hope that the old man, the floodgates, start to open for him. Joe Pavelski, plus 370 at FanDuel for the Dallas Stars. So Pavelski, plus 370. Makar, plus 320. Bonus 2-pack of bargain bin specials for me on this Friday. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Yeah, Florida's got to come out hot early, and so I think they will do just that. So I'm laying the half a goal plus 175 in the first period against Boston Knight in Game 6. Take the crowd out of it, take the momentum out of the home team, and get out of that first period with the lead. I think the Florida Panthers are capable of doing that. So Florida on the first period puck line, laying the half a goal plus 175. That is my Friday best bet.
All right, Florida Panthers, minus a half plus 175. I haven't done that in a while. Florida Panthers minus a half plus 175 for Alex B. Smith with his bargain bin special, his best bet for this Friday card. My best bet, it's going to be Dallas, Colorado, over 6, minus 115. I made the case pretty clear. Dallas has scored at least 3 goals every game in this series. But can we really think Colorado will be just stuck to 1 goal? And look, this is bounce back Jake Ottinger, right? He's usually great off a loss. He's often a guy that can give up 2 goals or less in a game after a loss. I get that. But my goodness, for me, it's just very, very difficult to believe Colorado is only going to score 1 goal at home again in a game with their season on the line, facing elimination. So I think Colorado can get to that 3-goal mark. I certainly expect Dallas to get there because they've done it every game in this series. And if that happens, if those 2 things happen, we have a winning wager here. So Dallas, Colorado, over 6, minus 115, plus the potential for empty net goals late. It is an elimination game after all. Dallas, Colorado, over 6, minus 115 for my best bet here for this Friday slate. All right, programming alert. We are back with you tomorrow, noon Eastern, our regular Saturday time, 11 a.m. Central. But we will be off Sunday, no show on Sunday. What we will be doing is we'll be combining Saturday and any Sunday games into tomorrow's show and breaking them all down for you tomorrow. So we'll be off Sunday, and we might be back Monday. But again, we're not sure about that either. We got to wait to see how the schedule rolls out for the conference.
And I just saw the Eastern Conference Final schedule just came out, actually, and I retweeted it. But it looks like Wednesday is going to be Game 1.
There you go. So we may not be looking at hockey Monday, but again, be determined. We'll make that confirmation on later in the weekend. But thanks for joining us. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Friday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we're back with you tomorrow on Saturday for another edition of the Ice Guys.